As you grow your business, you're likely starting subscriptions to things left and right like Showit, Dubsado or Honeybook, Flowdesk, Riverside, and Kajabi, just to name a few. To get the best deals on your needed software and easy to understand info about why you might need that software and if it's right for you, head to elizabethmccravey.com/tools. This is my robust resource page full of the tools I use to run my business and what I recommend for my students and customers. You'll find everything from website tools to financial and legal tools, and even my go-to business bank and credit card. This page is free to access and just about guarantees to save you money with all the great promos and discount codes I have for these companies. So before you hit subscribe in that software, go to elizabethmccravey.com/tools to see if there's a deal to help you save a little extra money. Hi friends, Elizabeth here, and I'm absolutely so thrilled to share this episode with you today. So I'm on maternity leave as you're hearing this, and I've asked some of my sweet and talented business friends to record trainings for you on topics I know they're so smart and passionate about for you to listen to while I'm out of office. So our first of these guest trainings is my lovely friend, Stephanie Kase. She's actually been on the podcast, I think 2 other times already, maybe even 3 in like a compilation episode. So you guys may have heard her in here. You may know who she is already. She's amazing. And I have known Stephanie for years, and she's someone I really admire. She's a smart businesswoman. She's a dedicated mother and wife and a strong woman of faith too. And she and I have a lot in common and have bonded over so many things, both in business and in our personal lives. And I just listened to this training and it's awesome. So I'm excited you're about to get to listen to it too. But today she's teaching about evergreen marketing, which if you know much about me and my business, I'm also all about evergreen marketing. Again, something we have in common. And I really love her practical tips for making evergreen products and content work for you, specifically the one she shares about ChatGPT. So listen for that one kind of near the end. But Stephanie teaches a lot about YouTube, which is really compatible to my teachings on how to do podcasting. And if you do want to learn YouTube, hey, she is your girl. She's so awesome at this and teaches really, really great too. So anyway, without further ado, here is Stephanie teaching how to start evergreen marketing that'll actually stick, how to get started with. Again, she's such a great teacher, and I think you'll really learn a lot for this episode and feel all the practical tips that come with it. And links to connect with Stephanie and all the links she mentioned are in the show notes below. So hope you enjoy. Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, an online educator for entrepreneurs, website designer, wife, boy mom, and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want to dive deep into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a sustainable business that fits your unique lifestyle while standing out in a crowd, then you are in the right place. I created a multiple 6-figure a year business in my early 20s, and now in my 30s, I'm still running that successful multiple 6-figure a year business on just part-time hours now as a working mom. I'm here to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe that the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, website design, personal branding, mindset, time management as a busy parent, scalable and passive income, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this.
So you've tried evergreen marketing before, or maybe you want to try it for the very first time, but how do you actually set yourself up for success? Because if you have tried it before, you know, a lot of times you'll start and you'll get a month or 2 in and be like, this is way harder than I thought, or the results just seem so slow. And so I want to share a little bit about exactly what I would think about and what I would do to make it totally worth my time if I was restarting with evergreen marketing. And by the way, hey, I'm Stephanie Kase. I have actually been a long time template shop owner from M-Shop, from Elizabeth's shop. I think I bought my first template back in like 2019, 2020, and I've just loved supporting her over the years and staying connected. And so I'm super excited to get to chat with you today. I am an online marketing coach. I specialize primarily in teaching YouTube growth and email list growth. I work primarily with online business owners. So entrepreneurs who sell online based offers. And a lot of times when my students come to me, they're struggling to keep up with their marketing and feel major social media burnout. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. I certainly have. Even though I love social media, sometimes it just feels like a lot, right? And they really crave something different and want to create something meaningful with their evergreen marketing system. So primarily, a lot of what I teach, again, is YouTube. So I teach a lot of long-form video marketing, helping to streamline content creation, reach your ideal audience on Evergreen, and really scale your leads when it comes to an Evergreen marketing system. Like, for example, one of my recent students is a lactation consultant, and she was able to sell multiple ebooks after we got her YouTube channel going. And she basically restarted after coming to me and buying from me and jumping into my course. And she was able to see sales within just a few weeks, which is super cool. So my background is actually in photography. That's where my love of long form marketing and really evergreen marketing really began it's been almost 10 years now, which is crazy. I started off blogging right away in my business. And over the years, I also added in YouTube. I've grown my YouTube channel to almost 100,000 subscribers. Really brings in at least 400 leads that we can track from YouTube on a monthly basis, and really helped catapult me into my first multiple six-figure revenue year in my business back in 2022, and has sustained that ever since. And it's just been really cool to see all the different results it's brought. A lot of my husband quit his job. He's a stay-at-home dad now, and I work part-time hours every week and spend the rest of my hours with my kids, which I know is a lot of what Elizabeth talks about with you guys, and something that I absolutely love as well about having a business, and love sticking to part-time hours so I can spend so much time with my little kids. But okay, so when it comes to evergreen marketing, what are we talking about with evergreen marketing? I just want to make sure we're on the same page here first before I jump into some really juicy tips that I have for you when it comes to this. What I wanted to talk about first is, when I'm talking about evergreen marketing, is we're typically talking about platforms like a podcast like you're listening to right now, YouTube, a blog, or Pinterest. I would say those are the biggest evergreen marketing platforms that are out there. It's interesting with Pinterest. It's really the only platform that also is like short form content. The rest of these platforms, podcast, YouTube, blog, are really long form content pieces in different types of formats. Podcast is audio, YouTube is audio and video, and then a blog is just written copy, right? And you can have like a podcast or YouTube embedded into that. But really, like, evergreen content means it has a long average lifetime span, right? So when you share a piece of content on these types of platforms, typically you're going to see your content perform for like a year, 2 years, 5 years. Like, I have blog posts I posted 5 years ago. Like I mentioned, I did a lot of blogging my first like 5 years of business, and I still have blog posts from then getting views now, which is absolutely crazy to think about, and which is why it's such a great long-term strategy for your business. And so that leads me to my first point here is the first thing that I would think about if I was approaching evergreen marketing for the very first time and I wanted to actually see success with it is I would choose one evergreen platform and go all in on it for a minimum of 6 months, and ideally like maybe even just write down a year, okay? And the really important thing with evergreen marketing is that this is a long game. This is not something where you're going to post and probably like see a ton of traction in the first month or the first couple of months even. Like, a lot of times it's going to take longer than that. And yes, you can, like, I know Elizabeth has an incredible course on podcasting. I have a lot of resources on YouTube. Like, there are people who teach you how to show up on these platforms in some really amazing ways. So like, you can help fast track your success in that way, but it's still a long-term game, right? It's still something where like typically it's like a snowball that just gets bigger over time the more that you roll it, right? And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the awesome thing about evergreen content, because it is a long form strategy or a long-term strategy, it takes a long time for that snowball to melt and go away. And so it gives you that ability to have some more breathing room when it comes to your marketing, because this type of content, it takes longer to build momentum, but it also takes a really long time for the momentum to just go away after you like take a break or stop uploading or anything like that, right? And so really, dedication is the number one determinant of your success here. Like, when I think about evergreen marketing and who I see succeeding as far as my students go, or even just an online business in general, the people who are seeing great results with things like a podcast or YouTube or a blog is they are dedicated for months or years before they ever see traction. And so I think that's one of the hardest parts about starting evergreen marketing is that you can get started and be all hyped about it, but then a month or two in, you start to, like, your excitement starts to dwindle and you're like, like it just feels like a lot of work, because yes, learning something like creating a podcast or a YouTube channel is a lot of like upfront work to learn. There is a bigger learning curve than learning how to like post a reel on Instagram, right? Or send an email. Like there is a lot more to it. But I promise like that learning curve does get easier the longer that you do it. And it's really having that all-in mindset at the beginning and being dedicated, even when the growth is slow in the beginning, because you see the vision and you're thinking about like, where do I want to be in 6 months from now? Or where do I want to be in a year from now? And what will I think then if I stick to this and upload like that one podcast every week or that one YouTube video every week? Will you look back and be so glad you stuck to it because of the growth that you see? Like when I first started on YouTube, I actually spent a couple of years honestly just throwing up random video ideas and seeing almost no growth. And then I decided to go all in on YouTube and really learn what works on YouTube, specifically as a business owner, not like an influencer or content creator or YouTuber, but like using it to market my business. And it took me about 3 months to start to see growth, like little amounts of growth. And I was like, okay, something's working. And then it was about 3 or 4 months after that, that it really started to take off and just take off from there. And so again, it is more of a long game. Another example that comes to mind is more recently, we've started doing more stuff on Pinterest. And I've been on Pinterest for several years, but it's been very off and on. And we really restarted and got more consistent in the past year. And we're just now starting to see traction. And so it really does take like thinking, okay, like I'm going to stick to it even when this seems like there's no growth. And then once I start seeing that growth, leaning into where you're seeing those little bits of growth and what's working and doing more of that on the platform, right? And I do want to preface this too with saying if you're someone who's newer in business, that in my opinion, evergreen marketing like this does mean you need to have a strong foundation in place, right? So you need to know your brand. You need to know your people. You need to know your offers that you ultimately want to sell. Make sure your evergreen marketing aligns with that. You need to have opt-ins for your email list so you can bake those into the evergreen marketing that you're creating. You need to know who you're making your content for. Like it is really important to know these things because you don't want to go all in on a platform and show up like in one way and it doesn't even make sense for the niche you're going to be in long term. So those videos aren't working for you anymore. That's kind of what happened to me those first couple of years. I threw up a bunch of random videos. I was doing like photography and stuff and it wasn't what I ended up doing long term. And so it started working more for me when I got more specific about who I was for. And so having that strong foundation in place, just wanted to mention that is really important to have before you start evergreen marketing. All right, so number 2 here that I wanted to cover with you guys is create a workflow that works for you, okay? There are so many ways to do this, and I teach a lot of batch creating, so like batch filming videos, specifically when it comes to YouTube. Because I know for me, especially now I'm a mom of 3 girls, 3 under 3, a little bit crazy, but so fun. And I have realized like, getting my hair done, getting my makeup done, setting up my filming space, getting everything ready to go just to film one video that's going to take me 15 or 20 minutes, that isn't a good use of my time. Like it's a way better use of my time to have like 4, 5, 6 video outlines ready to go so I can sit down and record multiple videos at one time. Sometimes that means 3 videos, sometimes that means 6 videos, and it really just depends on my energy, especially right now having a nursing baby that wakes up at night. Sometimes my energy is not there for 6 videos, and that's totally okay. But I still aim to do at least a few videos every time I sit down to batch film, and then I don't have to think about it again for a few weeks. And so that's been a game changer for me as a mom. But I know for some of you, like, and especially when you're first starting with evergreen marketing, regardless of what platform, it's going to be a learning curve, right? And you're going to be spending more time creating content at the beginning until you kind of develop that rhythm and workflow and figure out what you like. But some batching is something that like batch creating, whether it's like, okay, I'm going to sit down and in an hour create all of my outlines for my videos, and then sit down in a few hours and film all those videos, and then sit down for a few hours and edit like 2 of those videos at a time. Being in that mindset and not like flip-flopping and getting out of that rhythm like does really help you to maximize your time. But I mean, there's things like for me with video editing, it's really hard for me personally to sit down and edit more than one video because it takes so much brain power. Like I need the ability I need to only edit like in a day, one video. And so batch creating in that way doesn't work for me, but I can batch film videos or batch outline videos or batch create all the thumbnails. And so just kind of figuring out like, okay, what parts of the process can I batch create and what makes sense for me? Maybe for you, batch filming doesn't work for you. And maybe you're in a season of life where it's very easy for you to just record one video at a time. And so, yeah, just kind of figuring out like a workflow that works for you. And I wanted to mention this because this is what trips up a lot of business owners. Like a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to who have tried YouTube or who want to do YouTube, like this is one of the biggest things that comes up, like the workflow, like just all the time it takes and for the slow growth that it seems like it results in. And so thinking about like having that vision of like, okay, this is going to take more time in the beginning, but I can develop a workflow and it doesn't have to look like Stephanie or Elizabeth or whoever else you're learning from. Like it can look like whatever is unique to you and whatever feels right for you and that you work best in, like stick to that, right? But I do encourage from a time saving perspective, think about batching as much as you can and as much as makes sense for you and ultimately find a rhythm that you know that you'll actually stick to, right? And I think that's really important here. Again, going back to dedication, like have something that you'll actually keep executing on and that doesn't just feel so overwhelming that you just want to give up after the first 2 weeks of doing it. It is really important to find a rhythm that you feel like you'll actually want to keep doing. Okay, so the next one here is repurpose your evergreen content into other pieces of content and vice versa. Okay, so when you are starting with evergreen marketing, this is something I want you to start implementing from the very beginning because it's actually going to take some of the pressure off to create new content on other platforms. So something that I did when I first started getting really consistent on YouTube is I took those YouTube videos that I was sharing every single week and simply made them my email newsletter every single week. It made it so easy. It made it so simple. And pro tip here, you can literally drop your YouTube transcript in a ChatGPT and have it help write the email for you from the transcript. You're welcome. Seriously, such a great tip. And I absolutely love doing this still to this day because it's just such an easy way to work smarter and not harder. And if I already spent all that time creating this video, making it like such a great piece of content that stands alone on its own, like why not turn it into other pieces of content and make my life easier? And also take the things I'm already doing and point people, like the people on my email list, to my YouTube videos as well. And so we do this on a bigger scale nowadays, as far as like my YouTube video also becomes a blog post every week. It also becomes email list content every week. It becomes Instagram story content. It becomes Instagram feed content. And whether that's like taking the video directly and like clipping it, or even just taking the ideas from it. Like maybe there was a point that I'm like, man, that like really hit home, that really came across. Like it was just a really great point. We'll take that idea and even turn it into the context of an Instagram reel. And I have a team member who has helped do this in the past. And it's taken some of that load off of me to like always be creating new Instagram content. And she can take the things that like I put my best time and energy into my YouTube content every month. And then she knows that she can go in and use like the outlines or the transcripts or the clips and turn it into other pieces of content, which has been a game changer for me, especially because like I mentioned, I started my business almost 10 years ago. And about 5 years ago, so in 2020, is when I started growing this like online version of my business. Before then, I was 100% client-based with photography clients. And it's been just such a nice breath of fresh air to have someone like help me with some of this and alleviate some of that pressure to always be creating new content. And actually like visually in one of my free downloads, go to stephanikase.com/evergreen calendar. I actually have a visual of, it's called my content stacking system. You can see like how this all works in my calendar and how I'm like repurposing my YouTube videos into all these other pieces of content. So if you want inspiration on that and like to see it visually, definitely go to that link. I'm sure we'll include it in the description and you can go there and like see the visual. But at the end of the day, to me, like repurposing content is really a lot about like taking, again, the one thing that you're doing and that you're creating, like you're putting, especially if you're thinking long term of like you want to be the CEO and the visionary of your business and stay in that role as much as possible as your business expands, like having a long form evergreen piece of content that then your team can take and run with is such a game changer and allows you to stay more in that headspace and not always be in the weeds of like creating all the short form marketing in your business, but create these really awesome long form pieces of content that they can then run with. And it's still going to sound so genuine to you and your brand because you were the one who initially like created that content, right? A bonus tip I wanted to give you right here too is if you're just starting with evergreen content or just need a little refresher and help of like what content to make, start making evergreen content from your best performing short form pieces of content, okay? So take like think on your Instagram Reels or Instagram Stories or other platforms that you're showing up on. Think about what's been your best performing content. What are the topics? What are the things that you mention or talk about? Or even like if you wrote a really long form caption, like literally you can use that as your outline and film a YouTube video or record a podcast episode. I actually did that when I first started my YouTube channel. I went back to a lot of blog posts that I'd written because I'd been blogging for like 5 years. And that's what I created all my first YouTube videos about, was just literally taking the blog post and like turning that into my video. And so that's a really great place to start if you're just starting with evergreen marketing. And I wanted to mention here, if you want to learn even more and go deeper with me about how to really set yourself up for lasting success when it comes to an evergreen marketing system, specifically with YouTube, I would love to invite you into my free private podcast. If you go to stephanikase.com/evergreen pregame, the name of the podcast is called Evergreen Pregame. And essentially it's some really juicy episodes. I talk even more in depth about my story, my wins, things that I've learned over the years with evergreen marketing, especially when it comes to YouTube, and really what it takes to see success when it comes to evergreen marketing. So if you want to learn even more about all of the things we talked about in this episode, there's more episodes waiting for you inside that free private podcast. I'm sure we'll have a link down below. Again, it's stephanikase.com/evergreen pregame. And thank you so much for letting me get like chatting with you guys and getting to stand in for Elizabeth. This was so much fun. If you want to connect with me more, you can follow me on Instagram at Stephanie Lynn Kase, or if you go to stephanikase.com, that's where you can find pretty much any links to find me. I'm also on YouTube at Stephanie Kase. The link would be youtube.com/Stephanie Kase. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week.
Hey, thank you for listening to the podcast all the way to the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my website template shop too. Over on elizabethmccravy.com, you'll find show it website templates that are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you make more money from your website. Maybe your current website is really boring, maybe it's a challenge to update, and maybe it's even the thing you feel like is holding your business back. Your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers, and that's exactly what my templates do. These templates are designed to be SEO friendly on the back end, not just pretty, and also strategic with all the strategies I teach on the show, and they are easy for you to set up all by yourself. So shop them at elizabethmccravy.com/shop and come join thousands of happy customers using these templates. And as an added perk, you can use the code BBPodcast at checkout to get 10% off your template as a thank you for being part of the podcast fam. Again, that's BBPodcast for 10% off any template over on elizabethmccravy.com. Also, if you loved this episode, leaving a rating and review for the show on wherever you're listening or sharing it with a friend is a great way to support this podcast. Thank you again for listening, and I'll be back next week with a new episode. Need some extra pages to improve or add on to your show it website, but you're not in the market for an entirely new template. Been there. Sometimes you just need a little extra help to save you time as you add new things to your website as your business grows. That's why I put a huge focus on creating show it add-on templates to meet your needs, including tons of add-ons that you won't find in any other template shop. From pages to promote yourself as a conference speaker, to pages to house information about your podcast, add-on templates to help you build a quiz lead magnet, favorite things pages, Instagram link in bio so you can ditch that Linktree subscription, and so much more. Head to elizabethmccravy.com/shop to see them all. There are so many more than what I just named, and you can even bundle them together to save more. But as a podcast listener, you can also use the code BBPOD to save an additional 15% off on your add-on or full site template purchase for a limited time. If you are hearing this ad right now, that means the deal is available. So go shop now using the code BBPOD.